Real Estate Talk is provided for general information only and should not be treated as a substitute for professional advice. Please consult your trusted financial advisor, real estate professional, or attorney before making any real estate or financial decisions. Please remember, when following advice, your results may vary, and all information covered here is not intended to cover all aspects of the subject material, but rather a sample of issues the hosts and guests consider important. And now, Real Estate Talk with your host, Victoria Rivadeneira. Each week, Victoria gathers some of the best minds in the business to provide both professionals and non-professionals with the inside tips and tools to make smarter deals. Whether you're a buyer or seller, Real Estate Talk will give you the competitive advantage you need. And now, here's Victoria Rivadeneira.
Thank you and welcome to Real Estate Talk. We live video stream from New York's WOR iHeart Studios on Facebook.com/Victoria RIVA every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our show airs on AM 710 every Sunday morning, and our podcast can be found on retalkradio.com. I'm Victoria Rivadeneira, and I'm here today with co-host Phil Ferranda and our attorney co-host John Laterra. Phil, last week you and I spent a full hour reflecting on some of the shows that we had in the past.
It was just you and I.
You had me all to yourself.
Yes, I did. And you had me all to yourself.
Yes, I did.
So
and we went over all the different shows that we have done.
Yes.
And we both agreed that there was one show that was definitely the best show.
Mm-hmm.
What show was that?
Worth revisiting.
Yes.
Agent Safety.
That's correct. And we agreed on that because not only did we deliver really good content, but we also gave out some tips that could possibly save a life.
Yeah, making a difference is a thing. So we kept our word. We followed up.
We did.
So that's what we're doing today, yes?
That is what we're doing today. We are going to revisit this topic, realtor safety, because real estate agents are exposed to violent crimes on a regular basis. And I don't know if a lot of people realize the severity of that.
Well, when your business model is to meet with random anonymous strangers alone at empty houses, that lends itself to risk.
It sure does.
So what we're going to do is we're going to look at how we can reshape the model and educate not just licensees, but also the public as to how to best buy and sell real estate in a smart way, which ends up being the safer way. So the funny thing is the outcome of a safer agent is also a better cared for consumer. Everybody wins.
That is correct.
Everybody wins. So
absolutely. So, John, we have a very special guest today talking about realtor safety. And would you share that with us? Who's our guest?
Absolutely. Well, today we have David Greenwald. David is a serial entrepreneur who has spent his entire career finding emergent technology companies and consultancies, running sales and strategy organizations, and leading companies to successful exits. David started his career when he co-founded Genius Technology Solutions. Genius was acquired by Micro Center 2 years later, and David went on to run businesses for FleetCor Technologies, Premier Global Services, and Marketo. After the Marketo acquisition, David started another IT consulting agency called GreenTech. After 3 years, GreenTech was acquired by Advanced Technology Consulting. After the GreenTech acquisition in 2014, David then went on to be one of the founding partners of Pindrop Security, running business development, and strategic partnerships globally. During his time there, David built strategic partnerships with the likes of IBM, Pricewaterhouse, and Ernst & Young, and Telefonica, among others, to distribute Pindrop's fraud prevention technology around the globe. Upon exiting Pindrop, David joined TrustStamp, where he is currently VP of Business Development, charged with running enterprise sales and global channels. Thanks for being here, David.
Thank you, guys.
Wow, that's quite the intro.
Very, very honored to be here. Thank you.
You're a very impressive person. We're very glad that you're here. Thank you for making the trip up for us.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So, as Phil said, any job that deals with the public, particularly with strangers behind closed doors, definitely involves a certain level of risk.
Sure.
The majority of brokerages across the nation do not have a proactive procedure. That's pretty shocking, but true. Would you agree with that, Phil?
It is not even something that's spoken about.
Yeah.
It is not even. So, yeah, having a safety policy that is implementable and actionable is sadly lagging. And it's not just brokerages; it's associations. It is the industry at large. It's a cultural issue.
Yeah, and we all know that between 2008 and 2015, there's been over 200 realtor homicides.
Wow.
It's amazing, right?
Yep.
You didn't know that, John.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's just homicides. That's not even the violent crimes that go along with it and other things that haven't even been reported. So, Dave, you're not a realtor.
I'm not.
But you've taken notice to the seriousness of this matter.
Absolutely.
And you've introduced a solution to add an extra layer of protection to agents.
Yep.
Can you tell us about what Trust Stamp is doing and what the vision is for the company?
Sure. So Trust Stamp's vision is to bring a new paradigm to identity and trust as a service. And so whether you're a person interacting socially or in a business setting, we give you a way to uniquely identify someone and know exactly who you're dealing with. And so what we found is that NAR's security survey showed that between 40 and 50,000 real estate professionals were either raped, harmed, or made unsafe in some way at some point in their career. And so what we're here to do is address that and give them a way to feel safe and secure while they're doing business.
Wow. So I understand that you mentioned NAR. So I understand that you've partnered with NAR. Can you tell us a little bit more about this partnership? Because this is really where you want to target, because NAR really wants to push down some guidelines, and they really need as much information, as many tips as they possibly can have. So I'll turn it to you.
Sure. So NAR has an accelerator program every year where they evaluate hundreds of companies to put through the accelerator, and these are specifically companies that benefit real estate professionals. So we were very fortunate in 2016 to be selected as a part of the REACH accelerator. And because of that, we developed a realtor safety tool with NAR. And subsequently, after the accelerator, NAR made an investment in the technology and in the company, and they are actually our largest institutional investor to date. We're very, very blessed by NAR, and they've been amazing mentors to help give us direction and guidance as we grow the business.
I think in the years since we've lost Beverly Carter, who we'll get into a little bit later, there's been, I think, a sea change in how the industry has approached this. So while we still have plenty of work to do, at least at a national level, NAR, as we call it,
National Association of Realtors,
has gotten very proactive on working on the safety thing. And it is a thing. It is a big thing, because when you've got a membership of over 1 million people, getting thinking to change and the resistance that we have to change when people think, well, it's not going to happen to me, which is a problem.
Exactly.
It's a problem when your 16-year-old son or daughter thinks it won't happen to them, and it's a problem when a 50-something-year-old agent thinks it won't happen to them. So we all like to assume people are good and people are nice and everything like that. And by and large, the overwhelming majority of people call an agent with the best of intentions because they want to live in a home. But to NAR's credit, they have gotten to work proactively on a realtor safety program, educational courses, apps, which we're going to get into. And I'd like to hear more about the technological side that you guys are working on.
Sure. So really what we've done is we've created a Trust Stamp safety tool that realtors can use so that when a stranger contacts you to either show them a home or wanting to sell their home, you can do one of two things. You can invite them into your office and create their client profile there, or you can send them a link via SMS or via the web, and you can sponsor them for a VIP registration. And so what this...
And I'm just going to stop you there for a minute, because what you just said is so important, because and you know this as a broker, when a client calls and they say they want to see a house, trying to get them to the office is almost an impossibility. Yes.
And that is our own doing, because if you try and buy a $500 used car, they will get your driver's license with no trouble and no questions asked, because they understand it's an insurance thing and you're not going to drive off the lot in their property without properly identifying your licensure and your identity.
Sure.
We ought to be able to do the same thing with a $500,000 piece of property.
And as much as we say we want to do it, the reality is we're not doing it. So many agents are going out and they're meeting with someone at a house, and now it's a stranger, at a vacant house behind locked doors. So now go ahead and say what you were continuing to say.
Sure. So we just send them the link, and effectively they just enter some general information, name, address. They link one of their social media accounts, and they take what feels like to them is a selfie and a picture of their government-issued ID. And so what we do is we also mine background checks and sexual offenders registry checks, and we output a trustworthiness score. So either red, amber, or green. The red score means that there is a public data conflict. The amber score means that there are some minor inconsistencies, and green means that everything checks out. And so that prospect or that stranger owns that score, and they can choose to send that back to the realtor that they're working with.
So they get to see it.
Yeah, they own it.
So I'm somebody who's calling a realtor.
Yep.
The realtor says, okay, I will meet you at the property, but I'm going to send you this.
Yep.
This is what you need to do.
Exactly.
I do that.
Yep.
I get the results.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you can choose to send that to the realtor and engage in that potential transaction, or you can keep that to yourself. We don't own any of that data. We let the prospect or the stranger own that.
If I'm not mistaken, in law, isn't an ID taken almost immediately when you get retained by a client?
I would not say immediately, but eventually, yeah, we're getting IDs.
Yeah. Because you
Passports,
can't go to a closing
license,
without your...
something. By the time we get to closing, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have seen IDs. What's very interesting to me, a quick question. Statistically speaking, just backing up, because the numbers you had said are
Shocking.
Are shocking. So are the majority, or am I to understand that the majority of, let's say, violent acts committed against agents actually committed by their own clients?
So I wouldn't say they're actually committed by their own clients. I think in large in part these are strangers interacting with realtors and brokers and private agents. So I think that, you know, you're engaging with someone you've never met. How do you know that they even have any intention of buying a property? They know that the likelihood of you being alone and unarmed is very high. And so if they're looking to commit a violent act against someone, they want to look at the highest probability, unfortunately, of being able to get away with that.
Yeah, so they're masquerading as prospective clients.
Yes.
So not to find holes in it, I'm just trying to
Sure.
understand it. If an agent was doing it, and maybe you can answer this, but if an agent's doing an open house, obviously the public, it's still open to the general public, and
Yep.
there's still the risk with respect to the actual open house.
The most common places that cause concern for realtors: open houses, vacant houses, model homes, and properties in remote areas.
So one of the
Well, I
things that...
figured it was open.
Carl is up. Carl is up.
Okay, so one of the things that has changed in our market in Westchester County, we're seeing more and more open houses where the agent is not alone. There's several agents. There's a home inspector. There's a banker there pre-qualifying people for free or whatever, just so that the cowards who do this stuff go for low-hanging fruit. So
Sure.
if they see that you're not alone, they're going to just turn around and go away. They're going to go for the low-hanging fruit. They're cowards. This is how these people are. So having a couple of agents partnering up, having a banker there, having a team of professionals there, they just go away. They go to the next one. So we can't make everything bulletproof, airtight, but we can.
But let's talk about that for a minute,
Sure.
because criminals can go shopping for their victims on social media.
Yep.
And agents are constantly putting up selfies, putting up a picture of the vacant house. I'm here alone. Come visit me. I'm at this secluded area. Great house. Stop by 123 Main Street. Now, if you're a criminal,
It's a good point. Most of
This
the time
is-
they're saying secluded area, nothing around,
Privacy,
privacy.
yeah,
right? So the confluence of desirable things from people with good intentions, and unfortunately, that is good for someone who wants to get you alone, right? So that is a vulnerability that can be addressed, but it requires some conscious effort.
It's about building this into the process. And if they build this into the process, they mitigate themselves to some extent from the risk that they're exposed to in the business.
yeah. I think what you're doing is great, because it really does give an extra added layer of protection for that agent. Now, the thing is, are agents using it? We really need to push this out and let agents know that this is even available. Did you know this was available?
This particular app I'm hearing about today for the first time, and I'm delighted about it. I think there are an app itself is not enough. Has always been my thing, but this is the first pre-meeting application, as opposed to the stuff on your phone. Like, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We can all agree on that. So, I mean, having a beacon, or I've dropped, a clapper kind of, I'm in trouble app, a SOS app, is on your phone, is only as good as your Wi-Fi coverage, is only as good as your coverage. So we don't want to make it so easy for bad people to harm people. So the fact that you can do all these things, like, you don't park in the driveway, you don't go down the stairs first, you don't do all these things, those are kind of ex post facto things if you're already in the house with somebody that's a bad person. The key is to not get in the house with a bad person. So this, to me, is a crucial thing. And I got to tell you, the best part of everything you've told me, aside from the obvious, which is it happens before you meet with the people, is that NAR is backing it. So now we have the trade association with 1 million oars in the water, which is going to dive into this, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. So this makes things a lot easier for a broker owner who never wants to say to a spouse, a mother, or a child, well, we're so sorry, we didn't know this would happen.
Right.
Okay. So that is a really welcome thing to hear, and it's about time.
Thank you.
So I'm eager to hear more about this.
Yep.
And we should absolutely dive into this.
100%. That's why he's here. When I found out about this, I said, this is such a great way to empower ourselves. This is an important precaution, and being prepared is what it's all about. I mean, how many agents, really just go out there, and even though they have an instinct that something might be wrong, they go anyway. And we're going to talk later to Carl Carter, who is the son of Beverly Carter, who unfortunately became the victim of foul play. Yeah, foul play. And here's what the story is incredible, because she did have the instinct. And we can't blame her, because what she did was she said, I'm not feeling okay. This guy wants to meet me at this house. I'm not so sure about meeting him. She called him back and said, well, I'm going to bring, she didn't say I was going to bring some. She said, do we need to meet at the house? I'd rather you meet at the office. And he said, oh, no, my wife is coming. He goes, I'm not meeting you alone. It's me and my wife. And she said, oh, okay.
Right.
And met with them, because that put her guard down. Well, guess what? The wife was in on this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So people might ask, from the consumer side, that's good for you guys. We want you to be safe. I'm not a murderer. I just want to buy a house. How is this going to help me as a consumer? Well, I'll tell you, just from a strictly, handling inquiries from the consumer's point of view, one of the frustrations that consumers have in the home buying process is, you're on a website, you're on one of these broker websites, you're searching for homes, you see a house you like, you inquire about it, and you don't hear back from the agent. And that's frustrating. So you keep trying to find an agent who will return your phone call. And with something where, this sort of trust stamp kind of thing, if I'm an agent and I have, here's my credentials beamed to me,
right,
I am more likely to get back to the agent, get back to the consumer, rather, because now I almost have the first step in pre-qualification down.
That's exactly right.
And it's another nudge. And it's not always the agent's fault. Sometimes the agent is, running around in the bottom of a basement trying to figure out how to get an oil tank fixed, right?
Sure.
And they don't even know their phone is ringing. They don't have cell coverage. They're out in the prairie, or they call back and the call gets dropped. There's it's never just the agent's fault 100%. But this is the sort of thing that is good for the consumer from that point of view.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have to stop everyone, because we have Carl Carter on the line, but when we come back, we're going to talk to him. I sort of kind of told the story, but I'm sure he will tell it much better. He, again, is the son of Beverly Carter, the realtor that was senselessly murdered in Arkansas. And what Carl has done after experiencing such a horrific tragedy is absolutely remarkable.
Yes.
I'm Victoria Rivadeneira. I'm here with Phil Ferranda and Joe Laterra, and we are talking to Dave Greenwald from Trust Stamp about realtor safety. And you are listening to Real Estate Talk from New York's WOR iHeart Studios.
Hi, this is Tom Marinero, the president of Residential Home Funding, a top East Coast mortgage company. Now is the time to buy a home before interest rates go up. Lock in with a low rate today, or turn your current home into an asset by cashing in on its equity. Why rent when you can own? Why not get cash out of your home now? So call me right now at 1-800-636-LEND. And as a bonus, if you call me right now, I will waive all of my lender fees. That's right, zero lender fees, saving you thousands of dollars. This offer is for purchasing or refinancing a home. Call me and learn more at 1-800-636-LEND. Residential Funding is part of the New York and New Jersey Departments of Banking and Insurance. Our NMLS number is 36152. The number once again is 1-800-636-LEND. That's 1-800-636-LEND.
This is Paul Oster, the nation's credit repairman, and I want to help you improve your credit. As the CEO of Better Qualified, I've helped thousands of people over the past 10 years. I'm the credit expert for Fox Business News and all the major networks. I'm a certified FICO Pro that uses the consumer laws to help delete negative information off of credit reports. We have a debt elimination program that focuses on the laws surrounding collections, judgments, and charge-offs. You could be entitled to up to $1,000 per violation. Call now for your free credit consultation. 888-533-8138. That number again, 888-533-8138, or visit us on the web at betterqualified.com.
Every loan has a story, a family, and a dream that fuels it. My name is Jacqueline Sendra, mortgage loan originator number 39117, specializing in first-time homebuyer financing and an array of mortgage products. We recognize the importance of competitive rates and a custom-tailored mortgage loan to suit your needs. United Northern Mortgage Bankers Ltd. celebrates over 37 years of mortgage banking success. Allow us to help you achieve your dream of homeownership by reaching out to me today at 631-478-2706. Again, 631-478-2706. United Northern Mortgage Lenders Ltd. NMLS number 7230 is an equal housing lender and a licensed mortgage banker located at 3601 Hempstead Turnpike, Suite 300, Levittown, New York 11756, New York State Department of Financial Services.
For more real estate talk, download our free podcast at retalkradio.com. Now back to Victoria Rivadeneira.
And we're back. I'm Victoria Rivadeneira, and you're listening to Real Estate Talk from New York's WOR iHeart Studios. If you're just joining us, you can listen to our entire show by going to retalkradio.com and listening to our podcast, or watch the live stream on facebook.com/Victoria RIVA. As we went to break, we talked about Carl Carter being on the phone. Carl, are you with us?
Yeah.
Welcome, Carl. Good to talk to you.
It's good to talk to you guys. The show's great so far.
Thank you. I started to tell your mom's story, and I know I probably did it no justice, so I'd like for you to go through it again, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm honored to be with you all. If you will indulge me just a moment, when I talk about my mom, I always love to let everyone know what a precious, hardworking lady she was. She was 50 years old when she was taken from us. She had been in the business. I don't know, she was approaching the 15-year mark. She was at the broker level. This wasn't some, rookie agent that was just kind of flying, shooting from the hip, very reckless. She was a self-proclaimed scaredy cat, and was oftentimes very skeptical of, of different situations. And, in my mom's situation, what happened is that she started hearing from husband and wife, and they started expressing interest, saying that they were moving in from out of state, work was relocating them, and they were calling and texting her, and the number that they were utilizing, they were using a spoof number through a smartphone app called Text Me, which, masked your true phone number. And in doing that, it also kind of helped them build this, not only did it protect their true identity at the time, but it also helped them kind of reinforce that, hey, we're moving in from out of state. And I think in this day and age, it's really making more and more sense because we see things like telemarketers calling us from local numbers. So, these out-of-state call centers are tricking us into thinking they're right down the road.
Yes.
But in my mom's situation, it was a bad guy that was actually just right down the road, pretending they were out of state.
Wow.
And
so it was in the opposite.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And so, Mom had a number of email exchanges with them, and there's two cautionary pieces just in this alone that don't trust that a phone number can identifies the location of a person, but then anyone can create an email address, and so they had created these fictitious email addresses that matched the names that they were giving her. And so they expressed interest in a number of homes, but the one where they ultimately abducted her from, they expressed interest in it. Mom knew because it was actually a house that my mom had seen before, and it was a house really kind of commonplace for my mom. Mom had to drive past this house to get home every day. My mom's pastor lived just a few doors down. It was lakefront property. My parents lived on that exact same lake, So truly, truly commonplace. But Mom did know that it is a rural area. We don't know why, and you had talked before, Victoria, about that sinking feeling that my mom must have had to have made up that company policy to say, I'm so sorry, but company policy prohibits me from showing property alone in a rural area. Other things at play with this scenario, too, is Mom knew that this was a foreclosed property, vacant, no utilities needed to show the property, not only with a second person there, but before it got dark. And, after Mom talked with the wife, then that guard came down, and really that excuse that she was using had failed her in this scenario. And so when Mom goes, to this property that day, it was it was a Thursday at 6 p.m., just any other appointment, just like any other appointment. And, a black car pulls up, and I know my mom, and of course we do know that she had gotten there early, like all good realtors do. And we can say that she did all those things, even some of those that Phil was pointing out earlier about not getting blocked in the in the driveway. Let's just assume that she did so many things right. She left her purse, locked in her vehicle, and but what happened is that as that car pulled up, and I refer to him as bad guy, the husband gets out, and he's alone, and that. We all know, and I certainly know just because I know my sweet little mom, I know she had a sinking feeling right then. But as he approached her, he had even another idea to keep this realtor in this game. And as he approached her, he says, I'm so sorry, my wife got tied up. She has her phone on her, and if she's going to start texting you, and she'll call when she can so that we can have, as though that she's virtually with us right now. And however he spun that, or, for reasons that we'll never know. Maybe Mom did like so oftentimes I find myself doing, where I don't want to seem rude or weak. And so she went along with this.
And I can understand that. I think everyone here would probably do the exact same thing. You're already there at the property.
Yep.
He's in touch with the wife. Even if you have that instinct that says something's wrong, you say, well, it's okay.
And there's a paper trail.
There is a paper trail because they had emails, but they were fictitious, of course. But she didn't know that.
So, Carl, hats off to you for thus far. I mean, this is a difficult thing to relive, and just please continue.
Okay. Kind of to that point, I'll just kind of break in the story, but talking about the paper trail, I used to make fun of my mom so much because before she would go, or as she would show property, she always had her paper, her portfolio right there in hand, and it would have the client names and, a few pieces of information about them, the phone number and the MLS numbers of the properties that she's going to show. And one of the most powerful pieces, damning pieces of evidence in the trial was that, the investigative team found in my mom's the passenger side of her car this portfolio that had, everything that linked right back to these people.
Wow.
And to that point, the piece of evidence that is really haunts me to this day is at the conclusion of the trial, we got my mom's cell phone back, and the last 10 pictures. Sorry, I get choked up. The last 10 pictures on my mom's phone were of the interior of this home, and my mom was texting back and forth with his wife. The wife was asking questions about the property and so on. And, as dumb as these criminals were, their plan in this regard was very effective at keeping my mom in it and keeping my mom distracted.
They obviously went through great lengths to keep her distracted.
Right.
They did. And and I want to pause quickly, too, because, so often, and we were talking earlier about, the easy targets that we as agents can make ourselves. But, through all my mom's marketing, it's assumed that they saw this beautiful woman, and there was this perception of wealth, and then they searched, there was evidence found that they had searched out county records to find out where she lived and determine her property value. And, they built this entire scenario that this woman was just an easy way to get cash. So this particular property, and when they were up on, it was a 2-story property, and on that second floor, as my mom turned from taking a photograph and texting it to Bad Guy's wife, he had a taser, and he had a roll of lime green duct tape, and it's at that point, if your processes as an agent have led you to that point, it's game over. And there's no, and just to put it frankly, and I hate to keep referencing the things you've already talked about on today's call, but these reactive things, a panic button wouldn't have done my mom any good.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And holding her phone, she had her phone in her hand, and a lot of agents will say, "Well, I have my phone in my hand. If anything happens, I have access to that." That was not the case, because
right.
once that taser is used, she lost the ability to use that phone.
Right. And and I know it's a controversial subject, so I'll say this quickly and move on. But I have a lot of agents as I travel and train that discount so many of the things that we're trying to instill in them for how to be safer because they have a firearm. And I truly believe that the way that my mother's story unfolded, I don't think that a firearm would have been of any benefit to her at all.
No, she did everything right.
If anything, it could have been used on her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just reactionary. And what we need to do is set in place policies that keep people safe beforehand.
Yeah.
And that's just not the way it works today, and we need to try and make that the policy of the future.
Absolutely. So, as she turned and encountered this stun gun and this lime green duct tape, he has proudly stated to any news source that will listen to him that he told her that she was about to have a very bad day. And he then duct taped her ankles and her hands behind her back. He wrapped duct tape entirely around her head, around her mouth, and also over her eyes. And then he went outside and he got in his car and he backed his car up to the front of this house. He opened the trunk. And, we know all these types of details because, a neighbor, when later questioned by the investigators, he said, "Well, yeah, I saw the black car. I saw this guy. I saw him back up and open up the trunk." And, it's not necessarily agent safety, but, I encourage everyone as I tell this part of the story, it's like if you see something, please say something.
Yeah.
There's no reason for someone to be backing up a car and opening up a trunk at a property like this. But he put my sweet, sweet mom in the trunk of that car. And, the only thing that we know from this story, from her fighting, was that evidence was found. There were strands of her hair found in the trunk, but also there was a cone-shaped piece of duct tape that what had been previously, wrapped around her wrist. She had gotten her hands free in the trunk of that car, and it's really the only thing that we know about her fight for her life. And I say that just because just thinking of her fighting in that moment is what propels me forward in this mission to help other agents, because damn it, if she can fight, so can I. So, but from there, as he drove off with her, what's left behind is this vacant home with no utilities, this agent's car locked up with her purse in it. He, in his haste to kidnap her, he didn't think that he was about his need for her purse, and that was really their whole plan. They were going to utilize the credit cards and the debit cards and have my dad continue to push money to all these accounts, and they would hold her for ransom until they drained the family of money. So, it all really unraveled quickly for them because, he'd forgotten the purse. And then, Mom was really an open book, and she did so many of the things that we tell agents to do. Tell your coworkers what you have going on. Tell your broker, tell your spouse or your buddy. And so my dad knew when Mom left the office that day, she was going to show property, this house specifically, then she was going to pick up dinner and be home. So when she went missing, or when she didn't make it home whenever he thought she should, and then he calls and then there's no response, he knew exactly where to go. And that really, it really sped up, and it really messed up what the bad guys had in mind. They had like this trashy movie type, plot in mind that they would be able to, just have her and hold her for ransom, just like out of a bad movie. And so as we're all standing out there that night, and the cops are there, and there's tons of confusion. What happened to this sweet lady, this grandma, for heaven's sakes, And the bad guy actually came back out there, and he was just within feet of us. He was stopped by a patrolman and questioned about the disappearance of a local realtor, and he denied knowing anything, and then completely freaked out. And which is what I've seen with so many of the, crimes that or victims of crimes that I've spoken to, is that these bad guys, they don't even consider the consequence of their action. They don't. And
clearly,
yeah. And so, when they do see those blue lights, they do just the craziest of things. And so that's when they decided that they needed to end my mother's life. And but I'll tell you, it took us, or I should say us, the investigators, several days. My mom was missing from an appointment on the 25th, and her body was recovered early hours of September 30th. And during that time, if I may just say, the beauty of the industry in which we work was on such display. And I saw so many agents, regardless of the brokerage that they worked for, coming together and trying to do anything that they could to find her.
Yeah.
Investigators were ultimately able to piece things together. We were fortunate in that the bad guys, that Text Me app is based in the United States, and therefore our telephone carrier was able to trace those. The investigators told us that most oftentimes these are not U.S.-based companies, and it would have been impossible to go back and determine, okay, well, who's the real sender of this message.
Stroke of luck, at least for justice, And I think we need to ask you to hold right there. Carl, we're going to up against the break.
When we come back, we're going to have the conclusion of this story.
And the aftermath, which is really the good part for all of us.
Yes, and all the amazing things that you're doing. I'm Victoria Rivadeneira. I'm here with Phil Forenza and John Laterra, and we are talking to David Greenwald from Trust Stamp, and we have Carl Carter Jr. on the phone right now with us, and we'll be back shortly. You are listening to Real Estate Talk from New York's WOR iHeart Studios.
Every loan has a story, a family, and a dream that fuels it. My name is Jacqueline Sendra, mortgage loan originator number 39117, specializing in first-time homebuyer financing and an array of mortgage products. We recognize the importance of competitive rates and a custom-tailored mortgage loan to suit your needs. United Northern Mortgage Bankers Ltd. celebrates over 37 years of mortgage banking success. Allow us to help you achieve your dream of homeownership by reaching out to me today at 631-478-2706. Again, 631-478-2706. United Northern Mortgage Lenders Ltd. NMLS number 7230 is an equal housing lender and a licensed mortgage banker located at 3601 Hempstead Turnpike, Suite 300, Levittown, New York 11756, New York State Department of Financial Services.
This is Paul Oster, the nation's credit repairman, and I want to help you improve your credit. As the CEO of Better Qualified, I've helped thousands of people over the past 10 years. I'm the credit expert for Fox Business News and all the major networks. I'm a certified FICO Pro that uses the consumer laws to help delete negative information off of credit reports. We have a debt elimination program that focuses on the laws surrounding collections, judgments, and charge-offs. You could be entitled to up to $1,000 per violation. Call now for your free credit consultation. 888-533-8138. That number again, 888-533-8138. Or visit us on the web at betterqualified.com.
Hi, this is Tom Marinero, the president of Residential Home Funding, a top East Coast mortgage company. Now is the time to buy a home before interest rates go up. Lock in with a low rate today, or turn your current home into an asset by cashing in on its equity. Why rent when you can own? Why not get cash out of your home now? So call me right now at 1-800-636-LEND. And as a bonus, if you call me right now, I will waive all of my lender fees. That's right, zero lender fees, saving you thousands of dollars. This offer is for purchasing or refinancing a home. Call me and learn more at 1-800-636-LEND. Residential funding is part of the New York and New Jersey Departments of Banking and Insurance. Our NMLS number is 36152. The number once again is 1-800-636-LEND. That's 1-800-636-LEND.
RETalkRadio.com is your portal for cutting-edge information to give you an advantage in the competitive real estate market. Now, back to Real Estate Talk with Victoria Rivadeneira.
And we're back, and you're listening to Real Estate Talk from New York's WOR iHeart Studios. If you're just joining us, you can listen to the entire show by going to retalkradio.com, or you can watch the live stream on facebook.com/Victoria RIVA. We have Carl Carter Jr. still on the phone with us. Carl, I'm sorry we had to interrupt you for our break, but please continue.
Hey, no problem at all. And this is such a it's just a tough part of the story to tell. But when this husband and wife realized that they weren't able to carry out this plan, and that this whole plan that they had to record my mother in a series of ransom recordings, and wasn't going to happen. Then they decided to end her life, and so just not that you need any additional proof of just the evil of these people. They took everything of value from her, and I received, just by chance, and it just goes to show kind of a victim's work is never done sometimes. Just a couple of months ago, someone is moved in and cleaning up this house that these bad guys lived in and held my mother hostage. And it was odd, but found underneath a dishwasher, they found my mother's, realtor name badge that she was wearing that day, and it had just been broken in half and somehow ended up under this dishwasher. And it really, I carry it with me everywhere because it's really what these people saw my mother as, just this rich broker that worked alone that they could just take everything from. And they took everything of value from her. It makes sense, I guess, that they would take her jewelry, but they also took items of her clothing, and it was believed, that the female bad guy was actually, had an interest in my mother's clothing. I mean, it's just disgusting. And
the name tag under the dishwasher it just speaks to the panic and the disarray of these people's minds. They did not. I'm glad you at least got that back.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, I cling to it. Have it with me, especially every time I speak, in my hand. But if I just want to share one thing with you before I kind of tell you the last of my mom's story in this. Only one ransom recording was recorded, was made, and it's my mom speaking to my dad, and my dad's name's also Carl. And in verbatim, she said, "Carl, it's Beverly. I just want to let you know I'm okay. I haven't been hurt. Just do what he says, and please don't call the police. If you call the police, it could be bad. And the most important part, just want you to know that I love you very much." And so I just wanted to slide that in because I can't imagine the fear that she had in that moment. Yeah. But she still was more concerned with letting my dad know that how loved he was. But 5 days after my mother went missing, her body was found in a shallow grave at a concrete plant. And I'm probably butchering what they're actually called. It's a place where the concrete trucks kind of do all the prep work. And
I recall her being found. I do recall that.
And so we're thankful that her her body was found, and we had at least that closure. We did go to trial last year, and the wife took a plea deal in exchange for her truthful testimony and the conviction of her husband. So she got 30 years, and she'll be up for parole in about 20 years from now, and I will be there to remind the court of my sweet mom. And the husband got 2 life sentences without parole, one for capital murder and the other for kidnapping. And if you will all keep our family in mind, we should hear, hopefully tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., a decision from the Arkansas Supreme Court on if that guy will be allowed another trial. So fingers crossed we don't have to go through that.
So, Carl, you have created a foundation in your mother's name. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, and I'll go as quickly as I can to tell you what. In the aftermath of what happened to my mom, I found it quite therapeutic to be the voice that that she no longer has, to really to tell her story and to utilize it to help other people. And through that, I never knew where it might lead, or different people would say, well, you should create a nonprofit. And I was like, well, I don't know. Just because something tragic happens, of course, doesn't mean that we need a nonprofit for it. But as I traveled and I spoke to realtors, what would happen, and my guess is because I was sharing such a personal, emotional story, there were a number of people all across the country that found that they found me trustworthy. And so they would come up to me at the conclusion of these sessions, and they would say, Carl, I was victimized, and here's how. And they lay this story at my feet, and whether maybe it's something like someone stole something from me while I was doing a showing, or I was being stalked or harassed, or some it's upsetting how many stories I've heard from sweet women on these perpetrators that have done perverted type things to them.
I think that galvanized your efforts, because when I met you this past year, I think it was January in New York City, you spoke at an industry conference at Inman, and you were in the beginning stages, or perhaps the final stages of organizing the Beverly Carter Foundation. And if you could, Carl, because we're unfortunately and tragically up against time constraints of our own here, please tell us what the Beverly Carter Foundation is about. And I will add that I'm proud to be on the board of it.
Yes, I'm so excited that you're on the board. So Beverly Carter Foundation is about getting training that's relevant and engaging. I've lucked out that most of my career has been in adult learning, so I can apply that to finding ways to get this. I love how before I came on, there was discussion around building safety into processes so that it makes work more efficient, and we're not wasting time. So we have that whole arm that's going to educate, empower, and do it in a relevant way. And then the other side is that I'm not so naive to believe that other situations won't happen, and we want to be available to our realtor community that if something happens, so we can assist those victims.
And for our listeners, they can reach the Beverly Carter Foundation by going to beverlycarterfoundation.org.
That's right.
Carl, I want to thank you very much for joining us today and telling that heart-wrenching story, and for all the wonderful things that you're doing to help other realtors stay safe.
And thanks for all you're doing, too. It's been an honor.
Yes, thank you very much, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
All right. I'm speechless. There's very few times that I'm speechless.
Yeah,
I'm
that was
speechless.
heavy.
Yeah, that's a tough story. I want to go back to you, Dave. I know that you're very big supporters of the Beverly Carter Foundation.
Yep. So my colleagues at Trust Amp, who had met Carl before I joined, became big supporters, and subsequently, I'm supporting that cause as well. We heard the story. Obviously Carl has tremendous courage to kind of carry this
Tremendous
torch
courage.
And to make us all aware of what happened to her and the ongoing danger in the business. And she did everything right. She had some reservations, and so she said, I have to meet you somewhere else. And then those reservations were calmed by her thinking there was this second party, being the wife, that was going to be there. And I can't help but think, in the event that this same scenario happens again, which it will, if they have a tool like the Trust Stamp for realtor safety, this would have been prevented, because those people would have been uniquely identified using all of these different factors. And then they very likely wouldn't have been able to go out and perpetrate that crime.
And going forward, I think giving this the exposure that it needs, I think will make an impact on agent safety going forward. It absolutely will. I'm amazed that this is out there. Said that before. I'm really encouraged.
But here's the interesting thing, though.
Sure.
All you have to do is take a selfie. Is that right?
Yeah. So, all you do is you take a selfie, you take a picture of your photo ID, and you link a social media account. And it takes less than 4 minutes, and it literally costs agents less than a cup of coffee. So it's like, would you not pay less than a cup to know that you are meeting with someone who's legitimate and safe?
Best business investment ever.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like buying car insurance. It's precautionary. You don't think you're going to get in a car wreck, but you buy it just in case you do.
Are you doing other searches besides the social media?
Yeah, we search over 200 different sites, including social media, to scrape the internet for relevant topics or relevant attributes associated with that identity to either challenge or verify that identity.
Do you ever come back with questions to ask the people?
So we don't actually come back with questions. What we do is we output that score that is associated with those colors. So if there's minor inconsistencies, it's that amber color,
right? Which
means we haven't found anything terrible. Like, you can still choose to meet with this person, and that's up to the policy of the agent or the brokerage, saying if I only want to meet with people that are associated with the green output trustworthiness score, that's our policy. If we want to add precautionary measures when it's yellow, that's our policy. If it's red, we would say absolutely do not meet with this individual. There is a public data conflict, and that's just a very polite way of saying there is a red flag with this person.
Speaking of yellow, do we know if bad guy in the Beverly Carter situation had a criminal record?
I am not familiar.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That would be interesting to find out. But I think even with an amber result,
Sure.
That, going forward.
But here's what I think. I think because Trust Stamp sends it to the actual person, he now would have known that there was some sort of a background check done on them.
Yeah, you
and
can't
I think
spoof that.
Criminals do not want to have witnesses.
No, like I said, the low-hanging fruit.
So I think that would have stopped it right there.
I think irregardless of what color or what the trustworthiness outcome was.
Yeah.
Because we're using facial biometrics to uniquely identify someone's identity, and part of that process is measuring their facial measurements against their government-issued ID. You basically just gave up who you are.
Yeah.
So these criminals wouldn't have felt comfortable moving forward and perpetrating this crime if the agent showing the home or the request
we had that tool. Yeah.
had that tool.
All right, we're almost out of time here, so we're going to have to close. But I just have one quick question for
Sure.
you. I'm just curious about the pushback that you are getting. You must be getting some sort of pushback for the data that you're storing.
Yeah, so we became aware of pushback through the REACH program, and so TrustStamp intentionally only stores essential information like the login credentials. All the other data is flushed, and it's important to note that when we send out this VIP registration invite, that the recipient has control of all that information and where it is sent to.
And it's already public information, correct?
It is. Yes.
It's just you're putting it all
yes,
together.
it's us aggregating that information and outputting the trustworthiness score.
All right.
Well, Carl has commented online saying
1 minute.
Trust Stamp would have absolutely prevented the crime against Mom.
Well, Dave, I want to thank you very much for being with us today. I'm Victoria Rivadeneira, and Real Estate Talk is heard every Sunday at 5 a.m. on New York's AM 710 WOR. It is also live streamed on 710WOR.com. You can listen at your convenience by going to our podcast at retalkradio.com, where you can get information on our show, our hosts, our topics. Please remember to like us on Facebook. Until next time, I'm Victoria Rivadeneira, and thank you for listening to Real Estate Talk.